This topic is called the difference quotient. And the topic title makes sense because we are talking about subtraction, which is another word for difference. Right, here's your difference. And then we're talking about a quotient, which is a fancy word for division. See, we've got division here. Now, you won't understand why we're doing this until calculus, but we do need practice with this mathematical concept before we get there. So here's our function. F of t equals negative 16t squared plus 295. And I sometimes dislike working with t, so I'm going to rewrite this in terms of x, although you don't have to. So we know that when we have something like f of 2, you take that 2 and you plug it in, right? Well, in this case, we don't have f of a number, but we have f of x plus h, which is basically saying everywhere you see an x right here, I want you to put in an x plus h. So this is going to be equal to negative 16 parentheses x plus h, close my parentheses, don't forget about my squared, and then don't forget about the plus 295. So all I've done so far is this part of the difference quotient, where I've basically said to myself, okay, everywhere I see an x, I'm going to put in an x plus h. Now I'm going to go ahead and put a subtraction. So right here. And then it says subtract f of x. Well, what is f of x? Well, I have it written right here. F of x is that. So I have to make sure I remember my parentheses, or I'll get this whole problem wrong. All divided by h. Now, you might say, hey, we're done. And, you're not wrong. We have done this, but we certainly can simplify it more. So let's go ahead and do this. And you can notice right here, I have a binomial being multiplied. So what that means, I have to do FOIL. So I've got x plus h times x plus h. And for those of you who prefer box method, you're welcome to do that. X times x is x squared. X times h is an xh. Remember, we just smush it together. H times x, that's also an xh. Order doesn't matter. And then h times h is an h squared. So that becomes an x squared, and I've got two of these, so this would be plus a 2xh plus an h squared. It's possible, folks, that you'll have that memorized because we're going to have to do that same thing over and over again. All right, so this whole thing is going to be equal to a negative 16. Now, instead of writing this box right here, I've already simplified that right here. So now I'm going to put that in the problem instead. Okay, now I need to continue with the rest of it. So plus 295. And then minus your parentheses, minus 16x squared plus 295. All right, all over h. All right, so folks, next thing that we're going to do is the distributive property, and you can see we have to do it twice. So I'm going to do that here, 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 and then I'm going to have here, here. And I'm going to just give myself some more space, and I'm going to come over right here. So that's going to give me a negative 16x squared, and then I'm going to have negative 16 times 2 is a negative 32, and then xh. All right, and then I have a negative 16h squared, and then plus 295. Now I'm over to this section right here. So I'm going to have a plus 16x squared and then a minus 295 all over h. At this point, you actually should have everything cancel out except for something with an h in it. And so what I mean is if I circle this minus 16x squared, notice there's also a plus 16x squared. So that disappears. I also have a plus 295 and a minus 295, so that cancels as well. Now, notice this. I have a term in the numerator and it has an h in it, and I also have another h right here. So what I can do is I can pull out an h, and you can certainly pull out a constant as well, but that's not going to be helpful to us, and I'll kind of explain why in a second. So pull out the h, and I'm going to have a negative 32x, and then a minus 16h, get all divided by h. Okay, and so now my h cancels with my h, and I'm left with my final answer of a negative 32x minus 16h. And you know, you could pull out a 16, but that's not necessary. I'm just happy with this answer right here. So there's our first difference quotient. All right, let's go ahead and tackle another one. Let's do x squared plus 4. So this is going to be equal to parentheses x plus h squared plus 4. So that I just did this. I plugged in x plus h right here. Now I have to subtract the whole function f of x, which is an x squared plus 4. And this is all over h. My line is not very straight. I hope that doesn't upset you deeply. Nailed it. All right, next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to FOIL this out, and we've actually already done that. If we look at the previous slide, oopsie, that was this right here. And so you're welcome to go back to your notes and look at that, but like I said, you might end up having this memorized. So this ends up being an x squared plus a 2xh plus an h squared. That's what that box ends up being because we FOILed it out. Then we have plus 4. Now I'm just going to distribute that, and I get a negative x squared minus 4. And don't forget your divide by h. Okay, at this point, this is where things start to cancel. An x squared and a negative x squared cancel, a plus 4 and a minus 4 cancel. Okay, at this point we pull out an h from the numerator. See how both of these terms have h's in them? And so now I'm going to pull out an h, and I'm going to be left with a 2x plus h over h. The h's cancel, and I'm left with a 2x plus h. There we are. All right, if you'd like to do this problem, you can. You might want to pause the video, try it on your own, or if you're feeling pretty good about this, you're welcome to move on. However, this is a slightly harder problem than what we've been doing. All right, pause the video if you want to do it on your own, then come back. All right, thanks for coming back. I'm hoping that you got to this phase right here, and you can see that your negative x squared and your x squared cancel, your minus 2x and your plus 2x cancel, your plus 4 and your minus 4 cancel. You pull out an h, and you're left with a negative 2x minus h minus 1, because of this guy right here, all over h. Okay, and then, oops, I forgot the 2 here. And then I go ahead and I cancel out the h, and I get a negative 2x minus h minus 2. So if you did not get this answer, you should really go back and try to see, hey, what did I drop? What did I mess up? I've got all the work right here. All right, folks, thanks for watching. Have a great day.